তোমরা এই আগের ইয়ার্সে যে পেপারসগুলো আছে সেগুলো একটু তোমরা
প্র্যাকটিস করবো তো।
প্র্যাকটিস দেখবে কি কি কোশ্চেন এসছে, কি টাইপের কোশ্চেন্স এসছে, এগুলো একটু দেখতে হবে। This is the database security, right? So I know that we know that when we are implementing a database, so obviously that it is important and it is very basic thing that you need to secure your database, right? So so there are different types of securities are there, and different issues are there that regarding that security. The first one is what? This is the legal and ethical issues, right? So what are the legal issues or the ethical issues? That these are related to the right to access certain information. Means when you have the database, suppose you are accessing something, suppose you are accessing your data from a bank or from a company, so you should have right to access that information, because all informations are not public, right? So some informations are private, very the sensitive informations are always private. So without authorization you cannot access that private data, I know. So some information may be deemed to be private and cannot be accessed legally by unauthorized organizations or persons. So there are regarding that, so we have the different terms and conditions. আমাদেরও থাকে যখন তুমি কোনো কিছু অ্যাপ্লাই করো, you need to obey the terms and conditions, তাই না? যখন তুমি যা কিছুতে সাইন ইন করো না বা যখন কোনো কিছু তুমি হ্যাঁ তোমাকে টার্মস এন্ড কন্ডিশনগুলো মানতে হয়। System related next is what? This is the policy issues, right? So Policy issues means, so I know that a lot of different types of data are there. So some the sensitive data that should not be publicly available. তাই না, কিছু কিছু ডেটা আছে যেগুলো পাবলিকলি অ্যাভেলেবেল, মানে পাবলিক ক্যানট অ্যাক্সেস, আর দ্যাট নেভার বি অ্যাক্সেপ্টস অ্যাভেলেবল টু দ্য পাবলিক. So these are different policies. Company policies are there. That policy should be implemented within the company, and like the credit rating, personal medical records. Suppose the 40s, they are maintaining their medical records. So that that cannot be public. That cannot be accessed by any public. Right? So these are the policies of the governmental or institutional or corporate levels, that what kind of information should not be made publicly available. Right. So third issue is there. This is a system related issues. So that we know that system related means, so these are related with the system what the organization is using. Right. So it can be in the hardware level, it can be in the operating system level, or it can be in the database level also, Dbms level. So in a system related issue means what, that you need to implement the security here. So in which level you will implement in the security. So this is one of the important thing. So here one point is there, that the need in some organizations is, to identify multiple security levels, and to categorize the data and user based on these classifications, like top secret data, confidential data, and unclassified data. And the security policy of the organization with respect to permitting access to various classifications of the data must be enforced. So different types of data what you have categorized, like top secret, secret, confidential, unclassified. So security policies also implemented on these different types of category of data, different policy. Right now. Next is threats to the databases, and what protection should be taken. So threats to databases can result in the loss or degradation of some or all of the following commonly accepted security goals. So what are the accepted security goals? That integrity means data integrity, data availability, and the data confidentiality. Okay, so these are the goal of a database, that you can say. That your data should be confidential, and obviously it is available when you are generating the query, and as well as it will maintain the integrity. Right. So what is the threat? That this is a loss of integrity. Right. So the database integrity is what? This is refers to the requirement that information to be protected from improper modification. So this is the database integrity, right? Means either means if you made the transaction, so either the transaction will completed successfully, otherwise not, right? So this is the integrity. So it is what that your database should not be modified improperly. Hmm. Integrity is lost if unauthorized changes are made to the data by either intentional or accidental acts. That can happen. Then only your integrity can be lost. So if in a database, if your database is affected by the loss of integrity, then what? It will lead to the corrupted data, inaccurate data, or it will lead to the erroneous decision. Right?
হ্যাঁ
Okay. Next one is what? This is the loss of availability. This is what? This is the loss of availability. So what is the loss of availability? Means if it is available for users or not. Means if you have the right, and means obviously if they have the legitimate right, then only you can use the data. So if the threat can happen here also, means the database, the data cannot be available for the users. Okay.
হুম
Next one is the loss of confidentiality. So what is the loss of confidentiality? What is database confidentiality? Now this is the protection of data from unauthorized disclosure. This is means confidential means what? You cannot, an unauthorized person or cannot retrieve the data. তাই না?
হুম হ্যাঁ
So if it occurs, means if a database has loss of confidentiality, then what? So it can violate the Data Privacy Act, isn't it? Or it can violate the Data Privacy Act, as well as it lead to the jeopardization of the national security. Obviously, means if you have the sensitive data, so obviously it will hamper the national security. Right? So this unauthorized, unanticipated, or unintentional disclosure could result in the loss of public confidence, embarrassment, or legal action against the organization. Right.
হুম
So now to protect your database against this type of threats, so there are four kinds of measures are there, right? Access control, inference control, flow control, and encryption that we will discuss. In multi-user system, just 1 second. So now, so by these four ways you can control or you can protect from the threats, right? So what the first one is, this is the access control. What is the access control? Now, means you can restrict the access of your database. You can restrict the access of your database. By what? How can you restrict the access? Obviously, by using the username and password. Means by your login name and password, isn't it? So creating user account and password to control the login process by the Dbms. So by this way you can access the you can restrict the access to the database. Next one is what? Inference control. Next one is what? This is the inference control. So now what is inference? Inference means deducing some fact from deducing a fact from a certain fact. suppose the DBA or the database administrator or the database administrator is there. Suppose the database administrator or the DB means the database admin can uh, infer a fact or can infer a decision to other users, like suppose that one thing is there, that if you use a statistical database, here you can see the statistical database is what, that it is used to provide statistical information or summaries of values based on various criteria. Like a database for population statistics may provide statistics based on the age group, income level, household size, education level, and other criteria, isn't it? And this statistical database users, such as government statisticians or the market research firms, are allowed to access the database to retrieve statistical information about the population. Taito?
हाँ
But not to access the detailed confidential information about specific individual. তারা শুধুমাত্র ওই পার্টিকুলার জিনিসগুলোই জানবে যেগুলো কিনা এখানে আছে, এজ গ্রুপ জানতে পারে, ইনকাম লেভেল জানতে পারলো, হাউস হোল্ড। হ্যাঁ বলো। একটা 20 পর ঠিক আছে, তো শুধুমাত্র এই ইনফরমেশনগুলোই জানতে পারবে, ইনকাম লেভেল, হাউস হোল্ড সাইজ, এডুকেশন লেভেল। তো এবার যদি আমি জানতে চাই যে হোয়াট ইজ দ্য বাড়িতে কত টাকা পয়সা আছে, ঠিক আছে, বা তোমার কতগুলো কটা মোবাইল আছে, সামথিং হুইচ ইজ প্রাইভেট, তো সেটা নিশ্চয়ই এখান থেকে জানা সম্ভব নয়। নট টু অ্যাক্সেস দ্য ডিটেল কনফিডেন্সিয়াল ইনফরমেশন অ্যাবাউট আ স্পেসিফিক ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল, তাই তো?
हाँ
উচিত না তো?
ना
So the security for statistical databases must ensure that information about individual cannot be accessed. Right? So it is sometimes possible to deduce or infer certain facts concerning individuals from queries that involve only summary statistics on group. মানে তুমি যখন কোনো একটা কোয়ারি জেনারেট করছো, ইউ আর অনলি গেটিং এনি ইনফরমেশন বেসড অন দিস। সেটাই বলছে যে ইট ইজ সামটাইম পসিবল টু ডিডিউস অর ইনফার সার্টেন ফ্যাক্টস কনসার্নিং ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল। সাপোজ ধরো তোমার এই পপুলেশন ডেটা থেকে হয়তো জানতে পারলো যে তোমাদের বাড়িতে 4 জন আছে। সো দিস ইজ দ্য ফ্যাক্ট হুইচ হ্যাজ ইনফার্ড ফ্রম ইয়োর ডেটা। 4 জনের মধ্যে তোমাদের হয়তো 2 জন হয়তো সিনিয়র সিটিজেন, 2 জন হয়তো বাচ্চা আছে, আর একজন হয়তো বাড়িতে মহিলা আছে, লাইক দ্যাট। So it is sometimes possible to deduce or infer certain facts concerning individuals from queries that involve only summary statistics on groups. ঠিক আছে? So this corresponding control measures the inferential control measures. So that can be controlled by the inference control measures. ঠিক আছে?
हाँ
Third one is what? This is the flow control. What is the flow control? Protect information from reaching unauthorized user. Which prevents the information from flowing in such a way it reaches the unauthorized user. ঠিক আছে?
হুম,
And the fourth one is what? This is the encryption. This is what? This is the encryption. And what is the encryption? That I know that data is encoded with some algorithm. Then একটা certain algorithm base করে the data encryption হয় at the point of the sender, and by the using the same algorithm it is decrypted at the end of the receiver throughout the channel ওটা encrypted form এই তোমার the data is sending.
হুম,
So there are basically two types of security mechanisms are there. Means if you think about the database security, so it is basically the giving security to the different portions of the database, and as well as it is uh, the authorization of your system, that right. So this is ultimately the database security. The KK authorized to access the database, আর ডেটাবেসের কতটা পোর্শন অথরাইজড, যেটাকে আমরা ভিউ বলি, যে দ্য ভিউ ইজ রেস্ট্রিক্টেড, তাই না? যে তুমি তোমার অ্যাকাউন্ট রিলেটেড জিনিসপত্রই তুমি দেখতে পাবে ব্যাংকে, তো ম্যানেজার সব কিছু দেখতে পারে। তো দিস ইজ দ্য ভিউ ইজ রেস্ট্রিক্টেড, তাই না?
হ্যাঁ,
So now so there are two mechanisms are there. One is what? This is the discretionary security mechanism, and there is the mandatory security mechanism. So this the first one, that discretionary security mechanism, it is related with the your permission related, or it is related to the privilege related. Like what? That to access a specific data or field, or to insert the data, or to modify your database, like that, right? So they are used to grant privilege to users, including the capability to access specific data files or records or fields in a specific mode. And mandatory security level mechanism is what? It is implementing the different levels of security. It is implementing the আমরা যদি দেখি, it is implement, so different types of data are there. The top secret, confidential, unclassified, and different security levels are there. You can give the security at the hardware level, you can give at the OS level, you can give at the Dbms level, right? Or you can give the server at the point of the server also. So different security measures are there, different security levels are also there. So it is enforcing multi-level security by classifying the data and users into various security classes or levels, and it is implementing appropriate security policy for the organization as a whole. ঠিক আছে? For example, a typical security policy is to permit users at a certain classification, level to see only the data items classified at the user's uh, own classification level and दरकार नहीं है so this is what that depend on the users and the different depend on the data which data you want to interacting. It is a top secret, it is a secret, it is a confidential, or it is unclassified. So which type of data you want to access and which type of users you are. So based on these two categories the security is implemented. Right? So this is the mandatory security mechanism. We know about the DBA also, that DBA is also responsible to give the responsible for the database security, right? DBA is
Yes.
also responsible for the database security. কোথায় গেল? So account creation is also there, right? Means DB is responsible for the account creation, right? Means the DBA can create a new account for the users and the password for that users or a group of the users. It also DB is also responsible to give the permission for the different privilege, is granting the permission for different privilege, right? Which user will use which type of data and etc. Privilege revocation is can also done by the DBA. Suppose you are requesting something and that can be revoked by cancelled by the DBA also. So this action permits the DBA to revoke or cancel certain privilege that were previously given to a certain account. Suppose তোমাকে কিছু প্রিভিলেজ আগে থেকে দেওয়া ছিল, সো সেটা হয়তো এখন ক্যান্সেল, এখন হয়তো তোমাকে সেই প্রিভিলেজটা দেওয়া নেই, রাইট? So privilege revocation is also given by the DBA also. Security level assignment, it consists of the assigning users account to the appropriate security clearance level also. So the DB is also responsible for that also. Another function of DBA is access control, user accounts and the database audit. So these are also function of the DBA. So DBA already আমরা কাজ পড়েছিলাম এর আগে. তোমাদের তাপস তো মনে ছেড়ে দিয়েছে না তোমাদের কলেজ?
বলতে পারছি না।
তাপস তো নাকি রেজিস্টার করেনি শুনলাম।
তাহলে হয়তো পড়বে না।
তো স্লো হয়ে গেছে নেট। এনপিটিএল করছো ঠিকঠাক? অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট দিচ্ছ?
হ্যাঁ স্যার। হ্যাঁ।
জাভা করেছিলে এর আগে?
না, এই ফার্স্ট করছি, মানে করেছিলাম বলতে ওরকম ডিটেলসে করিনি, যেটুকুনি প্রজেক্টে ছিল সেটুকুনি করেছি, বাট ডিটেলসে করছি।
তোমার বিসিএ করা ছিল আছে তো নাকি? ইয়ে বিএসসি কি
হ্যাঁ,
জানো?
বিসিএ করা। না, বিসিএ।
তো বিসিএ তে জাভা ছিল তো?
হ্যাঁ ছিল, ডিটেলসে তো ছিল না একদম।
ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে। আজকে ক্লাস থাকে পর্যন্ত তাহলে।
আচ্ছা।
হুম।